Hi, you're tuned in to Potpourri. I'm your host, Janet Barksdale. Today we have with us attorney Terrica Ganzy, and she specializes in the death penalty. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Now tell us a little bit about what you do and what type of clients that you represent.
Well, I represent capital defendants in Alabama and Georgia, and I've been doing that for about 10 or 11 years. It's all I've ever really done with my life, except for a brief stint in private practice representing folks on misdemeanors.
Okay.
So I took a break from capital defense work just because I needed a little break. It's intense work, and then but it's all I've ever done. It was what I found a passion about when I was in law school, and just sort of stuck with it.
Okay. So what is your stance? I know the death penalty, it's a very one of those topics that people are kind of on the fence about a lot. So what is your stance on it?
I strictly and adamantly oppose the death penalty for a number of different reasons that I've sort of came to know about as I was a student in law school and just sort of got angry about and just more passionate about over time.
Okay. Now you are the vice chair for an organization called Georgians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty.
That's correct.
How did you come to serve on that board?
Well, I was working at the Southern Center for Human Rights with a number of other people who were serving on the board, and there were some openings on the board, and I just got invited because they didn't have an attorney, specifically an attorney who represented capital defendants, and so they felt like they needed that expertise on the board, and so I've been on the board for about 3 years now.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's pretty intense work, you know, being an attorney to represent those type of clients and then serving on a board. What type of things does the board do to try to implement the change with the death penalty?
Well, Georgians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty is a statewide coalition of organizations and individuals working to end the death penalty, to build power in communities most impacted by the criminal justice system, and to educate the public about, what's wrong with the death penalty. And so the board of directors sort of spearheads and sort of oversees all of the actions and activities that the organization does. We, hold vigils when there's an execution. We do public outreach and public education, events such as, events we might have on a college campus. We actually have 2 members of our board who are students at Spelman University.
Oh, okay.
And we provide support to death row inmates and their families. And so we do a wide range of things, a lot of sort of organizing, getting people involved in the movement. I think we were really successful with sort of getting folks opening eyes regarding Troy Davis's case several years back. People, a lot of people don't think about the death penalty because they never really have an opportunity to. But I do think that with Troy Davis's case, when people started thinking about innocence, they started thinking about race, they started thinking about the death penalty in ways that they hadn't before. And we have been able to, and we continue to sort of capitalize on that energy and sort of outrage behind the Troy Davis case. And so we're working just to keep folks educated, because I think the more people know about the cost of the system, the racism involved in it, the classism, all of that thing, people start thinking a little bit differently about it, particularly moms and parents and people who are concerned about where our taxpayer money is going. If you're leading police officers in your community, but you can't get them because we've spent so much money trying to execute this one individual, does that really make sense? When people start thinking about it in that way, when they think about all the social services that we can't provide because we're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars trying to kill people, and what does that serve? Nothing positive comes from the death penalty. And so we try to educate people. And I'm not the type of person who goes around and says, oh, you're wrong for supporting the death penalty. For me, I came to the conclusion based on getting more information. And I think that's really the way to get people to sort of open their eyes and really thinking about it more.
Okay. Now, even when you're talking about the death penalty, there's so many different things that surround it. You hear it's inhumane, different ways of killing the inmates. Is there such thing as humane capital punishment?
I don't think so, because I think killing a person in and of itself is inhumane. So of course, you know, so that's my position. It's inhumane in and of itself. But of course, there are ways for it to be less cruel, less gruesome, less painful in theory. We haven't quite figured that out yet, because we thought, or people thought with lethal injection that was going to be the answer, that folks would just go to sleep and they would just never wake up, and that doesn't happen. I mean, we've seen, you know, cases in the media where folks are in physical pain and you can see it, and their, you know, botched executions just show that this is not a foolproof system, and you can't kill somebody without it, you know, being really certain and really sure that you're doing it in the most humane way possible. And we just haven't figured that out yet, and I really think we should just stop executing folks.
So what are the alternatives that your organization would suggest to take the place of capital punishment?
Well, I think the most immediate alternative is life in prison without parole. Studies have shown that people who would normally support the death penalty, when they're given the option of life in prison without parole, are much less likely to support the death penalty. Because it's cheaper, and people don't really think about it like that, where you think, oh, it has to be extremely expensive to keep folks alive in prison for the rest of their lives. But it's the death penalty, to try to execute a person, is probably up to 3 times the cost of just allowing them to live out their lives and die in prison. So that's certainly an option. In Georgia, you also have the option of life with parole in capital cases. And so those are the immediate alternatives that I think, you know, will work for society and will work for Georgia and will save us a whole lot of money and really a whole lot of heartache.
Okay, well that's interesting, an interesting viewpoint on it. I mean, it's a lot of privatization of prisons and things like that going on. How does that tie into the money factor? I know you mentioned that financially it would be savings, you know, to just totally remove the death penalty, but how does that balance out?
Well, I mean, privatization of prisons is a problem in and of itself, because it gives governments, it gives people incentive to lock folks up, as opposed to, and lock folks up with really no opportunities for rehabilitation. That's just never really been a factor. And so you're just locking up fathers and brothers and sisters and mothers, and you're not adding to the community. So it ends up being a ripple effect. And with these, and with privatization, it just sort of exacerbates the problems with the criminal justice system in general, and the death penalty is just the most extreme end of that. It's certainly problematic for Georgia and other states to continue in the way that they have been with going forward with these private prisons. Studies have shown that they're more violent, that inmates get less services and not more, and it's really a shame and a travesty.
Okay, and looking at your organization, you know, sitting as a board member, sitting as that chair that you have, I know it's important for you to create programs that are going to really support your initiative, you know, and get the information out there to the public. So you mentioned Troy Davis, and that was a major case. I don't know anyone that wasn't tuned into that, and you know, it was major. So was that for you guys sort of a turning point? Did that play a large role in some of the initiatives that you have now? Or were you guys just already like, okay, this is what we're going to do to implement this change?
Well, I think Troy Davis, I'm not sure that it was a turning point, but I do think it sort of opened us up to seeing that our movement can be more diverse, that we haven't done a good job of educating people of color and, you know, people who are most impacted by the criminal justice system, and that doesn't seem right. It seems kind of, I don't know, counterproductive. And so we started thinking, because when Troy Davis's case, there are people across all ages and across like all races, sexes, just there is a wide variety of people who were interested in that case.
There were.
And you know, it occurred to us that we need to cultivate this. We need to do something to get folks more involved and keep them more involved, because a diverse movement is an effective movement, in our opinion.
Absolutely.
And so we are developing and have developed what we call our GRIO project, and it's called Grassroots Initiative for Organization and Transformation. And it's designed to train 20 leaders of color to help build the anti-death penalty movement, but also to be leaders in their communities who can take on criminal justice issues that they see. They can write letters to the editors. They can build, organizing campaigns around issues that affect the criminal justice system in their local area. And we believe, it's the only project in the nation like it. We found no other project like this, and we think it's going to make a major difference in how effective we can be as an organization, but also how effective people in their local communities can be.
Okay. Now, how do you measure the success of that?
Well, it'll be over time for sure, but we plan to, the way the program is set up is that we have the 20 leaders come in every month for leadership training. And then each month they are also implementing the things that they learn. So if we're talking about how to effectively work with the media, they're going to be writing letters to the editor. They're going to be actually implementing the things that we're teaching them each month. And so after the program is over, we'll still do follow-up that, a year later to make sure that the practices that they've learned, they're able to implement in campaigns that we're working on. And also able to help us build campaigns, able to help us see, here's a need that we think needs to be filled, and here's how we think we should make it happen.
Okay, well that sounds like a very effective methodology that you guys are implementing.
Thank you.
Okay, well we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to Potpourri. We'll return in just a moment.
It's time to join forces. Get energized and fuel up right. Because starting today, every kid in America has a mission. Bring out the action hero in you. Be part of the greatest action movie ever. The first movie that puts you in the action. Show us how you train and eat like an action hero. Join in at actionheroalliance.com.
Packers. Viking. Packer. Viking. Pack. Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live
our families,
united.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Mom, can we get some ice cream?
Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Matchsticks, matchbox, matching tie to matching socks. You don't know why, but you're really special to match point, match game. You and I are not the same, but I can tell that you're really special to me. There is something I can give to make you laugh, to help you live. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me. We're the perfect match and you're really special to me.
We're back with more Potpourri. We have with us the attorney, Terrica Ganzy.
Yes.
And we were speaking with her about the death penalty. Now, before we went to break, you were telling me about a program that you guys have. We can get a little bit more back into that program, and you can tell us also how people can find out more information about it.
Okay. Well, we have applications are open now for our GRIO project. We're looking for, leaders, people who either who feel strongly enough about our mission and strongly enough that they can affect change in their own communities, that they want, who are really seeking to get more leadership training. We're looking to train 20 people of color to really be able to affect change in their communities. And applications are open now. We can go to www.gfadp.org. GFADP stands for Georgians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty. And they can download an application there. As the Marines would say, we're looking for a few good men and women to really move our mission forward.
Okay. So what's the turnaround in terms of that process?
In terms of the process, our original deadline was July 16th, but we're going to extend the deadline for another week. So people need to not wait.
Okay.
They need to get those applications in now because we really want to move forward. We have a great program plan and lots of great presenters, and so we really want to move forward.
Okay. So just even going off of that statement, for those who aren't going to be involved with the GRIO program, how can the public really make an impact with the programs and the initiatives that you all are putting out there?
Well, I would say just sort of pay attention to some of the things that we're trying to do. Really, check our website. We post events regularly. We also have a lead organizer who will be knocking on doors, and maybe some of your viewers will have their doors knocked on, to trying to educate people, not just in Atlanta, but across the state of Georgia. But we also have events at the Capitol, Lobby Day. We have a number of various educational events, and so the easiest way to find out about those is to check our website.
Okay, so it seems like it's a really grassroots approach.
It certainly is grassroots. It's all about our members, and if you express an interest in our mission, we welcome you with open arms, and we hope that you can hit the ground running.
Okay. So I know that you guys right now, you have the 3 chapters here in Atlanta, you have Macon, and then also Athens.
Right.
And you're expanding a little bit more. Where are you going now?
Savannah and Columbus. We have gotten some grant money to hire part-time organizers in Savannah and Columbus, and so we're really trying to build our movement to be more of a statewide movement so that we can get more people involved in what we're doing, and we are really fortunate to be able to have this opportunity to expand in the way that we are.
Okay. Now, representing people who are clearly at risk of being executed, how do you deal with their families? I know you have to be honest with them. Every outcome isn't going to be favorable. So how do you prepare the families in the event that there is an execution that takes place?
Well, the families, we end up having a pretty good relationship with family members as well as with our clients, because in representing our clients, we have to do lots of investigation into their background. It's called mitigation investigation. And we talk to grandma, and we talk to mom, and we talk to sister and brother and teacher and preacher and everybody we can think of who may have touched this person's life, because we have to tell their stories. And so we end up being good friends with our family, with some of the family members. And and because the process doesn't happen immediately. So for example, we can have clients for years and years and years. It doesn't feel as, we can prepare folks over time. And once our clients, have been convicted, I think the family is already sort of prepared that the sentence might be carried out, but of course they're hopeful that it won't. And so, my job doing post-conviction work is just to review everything that was ever done in the case and try to make sure that the sentence was executed in the most fair way possible, that the attorney provided adequate representation, and that there are no reasons, I mean, and to just investigate to see whether or not he received a fair trial.
Okay. Well, that's very important, you know, to really relay that information. And I'm pretty sure you do it in a manner that's so graceful. I couldn't imagine anything else coming from you.
Well, I treat people the way I would want to be treated. And so, I mean, I understand that these families are going through a hard time, and a lot of times because their loved one has been accused of or convicted of, you know, committing one of the worst crimes that can be committed,
right.
They also feel blackballed or isolated from their own communities. And so we, you know, I have to understand that as well, that they're going through something too just by being associated with their family members. And so it's not an easy road for them either, to love somebody that society has decided that they don't, that deserves to die. So, yeah, I just try to treat people the way I want to be treated. I try to care like, I would want somebody to care about me or my loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you ever been put in a position where you felt, as much as you're against the death penalty, have you ever felt like, oh my goodness, this person did something so wrong, I could understand why people would want them to be penalized in this way?
I mean, as a human being, sometimes there are cases where just you hear the news and you think, oh my God, they did that. Of course, I can feel the reaction, because as a mom or as a wife or whatever, if something happens to my family member, I can understand that guttural reaction of, oh my God, these people don't deserve to live. And I think being able to put myself in that position where it's not like I judge people for having these, for having that reaction, because I think that's a normal human reaction. But I think what I do as an attorney or as a person who's opposed to the death penalty is I help. What people don't understand is that there was something that happened before that incident. The way this person was brought up, for example, could have contributed to this ultimate act, been failed by family members, been failed by institutions. There are, usually a number of failures that happen in this person's life. And I think when jurors or when trials are a fact, or when even the community gets to understand that this person is not just this act, that they can get past that feeling of, yeah, this person deserves to die. They can actually see them as that little boy that he was when he was 2. And nobody would have expected that this would happen, because all children grow up with hope and possibilities, you assume. But when you think about the way some of our clients have been treated, have been put in cages as children, or have been raped and molested, or seen their sisters raped and you think about what kind of impact that has on a child, and you can kind of understand how they made the break. They have gotten to the place where they are now, and it doesn't feel as if there's nothing to redeem, that their life is totally worth it. It's, people can start to understand that maybe they do deserve a chance. Maybe there is something worth saving in this person. And that's where I would try to get people to get past the anger and get to an understanding.
Okay. So focusing more on the rehabilitation of the person.
Right. To understand that they are human. And I think that's the difference. I mean, I think that's the problem with people thinking with the death penalty. They kind of will be able to, the crime allows people to sort of separate that person from humanity. And so when you think about, well, that person is not like me. They don't cry like I do. They don't laugh like I do. They don't feel like I do. They don't love like I do. Then it's okay for you to say they're not worth it. But when you think about, this person has a child that he really cares about. Oh my gosh, a murderer can care? Or this person, cries or is really sad and remorseful about the thing that they did, maybe when they were on drugs, or when they were going through a psychotic episode. Then people can start to think a little bit harder about, maybe there's something worth saving. So that's where we are. I mean, it's a hard road to hoe, as they say. But it's very rewarding work in terms of really being able to get folks to get past their anger, to really see the person as a person, and not as this other thing that's not worth saving.
Okay. So your job essentially is separating the problem from the person and painting that picture so that the public can have an understanding of who that person really is before they committed the crime.
Right. And that there's hope for them after this crime.
Okay. So what do you feel about that? You know, we talked about the rehabilitation, but then you have people who are just thrown in jail and they just sit there. They're not being rehabilitated. How do you feel? What type of programs do you think should be implemented to ensure that prisoners are rehabilitated so that they're not placed in a position to be put on the death penalty?
Well, I think, first of all, we need to put more money and emphasis into rehabilitation. I think, you know, right now the emphasis is all on punishment, but we sort of punish ourselves by not putting money and emphasis on rehabilitation, because when some of these folks get out, you know, if they're not rehabilitated, they're going to do the same thing or something even worse and get back, you know, go back into prison. And so society is affected, and society hurts by us not focusing on rehabilitation. And I think, you know, the kinds of programs that seem obvious, like educational programs, like real counseling, like true counseling, like PTSD counseling, you know, making sure that they protect inmates from each other. They're, you know, cut down on inmate rapes, cut down on, you know, guards assaulting inmates and that kind of thing, and just making it, I mean, just because people are in prison doesn't mean that they're not human. Okay. It doesn't mean if you went to prison for a DUI, doesn't mean you should also be raped. If you go to prison for whatever else, doesn't, I mean, your punishment is what it is. It shouldn't also be that you don't get your medications that you need to save your life. It shouldn't also be that you're afraid that, you know, every time you go to the shower you might get hurt or killed or stabbed. And so, you know, educational programs, counseling programs, anger management programs, family, you know, how to be a better husband, how to be a better father, all those kinds of things, I think. But really just making people know that you care. I think that makes a difference. Okay. Making folks, you know, making the people who are incarcerated feel like they want you to be better. Okay. They are going to support, you know, they're going to support me in being a better me when I come out.
Okay. Well, those are very important points, and I thank you so much for sharing those and just putting, you know, making people aware, you know, because we need to know that there are other options.
Right.
Now, how can we find you? What's the website where we can find the information for any upcoming events or anything like that?
It's www.gfadp.org.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming, Attorney Ganzy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you all so much for tuning in to Potpourri. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Matchsticks, matchbox, matching tie and matching socks. You don't know why, but you're really special to match point, match game. You and I are not the same, but I can tell that you're really special to me. There is something I can give to make you laugh, to help you live. We're the perfect match and you're really special to me. We're the perfect match and you're really special to me.
Up to 40% of businesses never recover after experiencing a major disaster. Make a plan at ready.gov/business.